Hello, I'm Jeremy Young, an attorney with Retzel and Andrus and co-chair of the 2015 Ohio High School Mock Trial Case Committee.
And I'm John Hsu, an attorney with the Ohio Environmental Review Appeals Commission and co-chair of the 2015 Case Committee. This year, the Ohio Center for Law-Related Education presents to you Emerson Jones v. Buckeye Juvenile Correctional Institute.
In this year's case, Emerson Jones has just been released from the Buckeye Juvenile Correctional Institute, or BJCI, just before his 21st birthday. Jones was incarcerated for aggravated robbery and has been trying to keep up good behavior and a low profile during the detention period to avoid any further trouble. As the fight broke out in the Correctional Institute cafeteria, Jones was grabbed by the wrist by guard Mendez and slammed to the ground. Jones suffered severe pain from the wrist injury, and upon examination by the infirmary nurse, it appeared to be merely a sprained wrist. However, upon Jones's release, another doctor re-examined his injury and determines that instead it is a fracture. Jones claims that Buckeye Juvenile Correctional Institute is liable for violating his Eighth Amendment right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment by causing him injury and failing to treat it properly. BJCI counterclaims that the guard used necessary force to mitigate a riot situation and that it met the standard of medical care in treating Jones's injury.
Emerson Jones is the plaintiff in this case. The plaintiff will argue for judgment in their favor that BJCI violated the plaintiff's right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment by both causing him unnecessary physical injury and failing to provide proper medical treatment of the injury. The plaintiff's position will focus on these arguments. First, the plaintiff contends that BJCI's guards unconstitutionally injured Emerson Jones as the personnel at BJCI had an Eighth Amendment duty to avoid causing Jones unnecessary pain. The plaintiff will argue that guard Mendez yanked Jones's wrist in a manner that was unjustified given the circumstances and could have prevented Jones from moving during the fight by giving a verbal command or using a hand signal instead of physical force. Second, the plaintiff seeks to show that BJCI's medical staff compounded the Eighth Amendment violation by failing to treat Jones's injury properly. The plaintiff will argue that it fell below the standard of medical care for BJCI to have a nurse consult an X-ray of Jones's wrist from an old machine and conclude the injury to be a sprained wrist without further deliberation.
The plaintiff will bring to court two of the following three witnesses. Emerson Money Jones is the plaintiff in this case and sustained an injury while under the care of BJCI guard Mendez and nurse Robin Rogers. Jones will describe the situation leading up to being incarcerated and the basketball talent Jones once had that is now affected by the fractured wrist. Additionally, Jones will go into detail regarding the circumstances of the cafeteria fight, life at BJCI, and the rocky relationship with guard Mendez. Finally, Jones will explain the misdiagnosis at BJCI's infirmary, followed by the correct diagnosis by a doctor after being released. Dr. Jamie Lawrence is the plaintiff's doctor who examined Jones for a referral from Jones's attorney and diagnosed the fracture to Jones's wrist. This witness will describe their education and experience in this arena, as well as explaining how Jones's injury was treated. Additionally, he or she will discuss the likelihood of full recovery due to the original diagnosis. Finally, the plaintiff may call Taylor Caputo, a public school teacher who used to teach at BJCI and worked with Emerson Jones while Jones was incarcerated. Caputo will describe the role of a teacher at BJCI and what the situation was like as a bystander leading up to the cafeteria fight. Caputo will also describe the fight, the nature of Caputo and Jones's student-teacher relationship, and what Jones was like as an inmate.
The defendant, Buckeye Juvenile Correctional Institute, will argue that plaintiff wrongly contends that any Eighth Amendment violations existed regarding the fight and the treatment of Jones's wrist injury. The defendant seeks to show that the prison safety and medical personnel acted reasonably and according to the standard of their duty to protect inmates from harm. The defense will focus on these arguments. First, the plaintiff's argument that guard Mendez used too high a level of force on Jones during the riot is without merit. The defendant will present testimony to contend that Jones was an active participant during the fight, which gave justification for Guard Mendez to act as he did. The defendant will argue that the use of force to restrain Jones during the fight was minimal and applied in a good faith effort to restore discipline. Second, the defendant will seek to show that BJCI medical personnel responded appropriately to all of Jones's known medical issues. BJCI will argue that Jones was taken to the infirmary as soon as they were aware of his symptoms, that they had a nurse examine Jones to make a diagnosis given the information available, and that this properly meets the standard for adequate medical care as set forth in Eighth Amendment case law.
The defense will bring to court two of the following three witnesses. Blair Healy is a current BJCI inmate who was familiar with Emerson Jones during Jones's incarceration, in addition to Healy's detailed knowledge of everyday life and conditions at BJCI. Healy will provide information regarding Emerson's alleged gang membership and tendencies to complain about life at BJCI. Healy was also an eyewitness at the scene of the fight and will contend that Emerson Jones was responsible for the escalation of the riot. Robin Rogers is a registered nurse that works in the infirmary at BJCI and initially examined Emerson Jones's wrist on the day of the cafeteria fight. Nurse Rogers will discuss the qualifications to be a registered nurse for a correctional institution, the equipment available at BJCI for providing medical care to detainees, past experience with detainees who manufacture injuries, and the scene in the infirmary in the aftermath of the incident in the cafeteria. Finally, the defense may call Casey Burgundy, a senior guard at BJCI who is assigned to cover the block of cells in which Emerson Jones resided. Senior Guard Burgundy will describe some knowledge of Emerson Jones's personal circumstances regarding a career in basketball, as well as a detailed account of gang families at BJCI, including the one in which Jones was allegedly a part. Senior Guard Burgundy will also provide information from the perspective of an eyewitness to the events leading up to the fight itself, and the aftermath of taking inmates to be seen at the infirmary.
Your job is to present the strongest evidence and the best legal arguments that can be offered on one side or the other in the hypothetical factual scenario provided in these case materials. The attorneys who have prepared the case materials have based this case upon actual court decisions with an eye toward framing the facts of this case in a manner that is evenly balanced between the arguments of the plaintiff and the defendant. You should not rely on any court decisions or other legal information beyond those provided to you in these materials.
The Ohio Center for Law-Related Education and the Case Committee for Emerson Jones v. Buckeye Juvenile Correctional Institute hope you will find this case challenging and thought-provoking. It is our hope that this case will give you a greater understanding of the Eighth Amendment to the United States Constitution.
It is also our hope that all those who participate in high school mock trial will have a great experience, and we want to take this opportunity to go over a few brief competition reminders. It is expected that advisors, coaches, and parents will, at all times, model civil behavior toward the court and respect for the court and members and supporters of the opposing team. Also, please remember that the competition coordinators and judges are volunteers who have taken time out of their schedules to participate in this program. Understand, as it is in authentic trial situations, that judges may demonstrate different degrees of preparedness and may make rulings at their discretion that the parties may not always agree with or like. We urge the mock trial participants to be flexible and understanding throughout the competition process.
Best wishes and good luck.